This week on the Feminist Buzzkills pod, a new study shows that men are becoming less and less supportive of abortion. And I'm going to dive into the rage-inducing reason why. And our reproductive health data is being scraped like a pap smear done with a rusty nutmegger. So we asked author of the My Body, My Data Act to join us. California Congresswoman Sara Jacobs is here to talk about her bill that stops the uterine troll farms from collecting private data from our privates. Plus, badass musician Jackie Venson is here to talk about thriving while Texasing, touring America as a black blues woman, and her fifth album, The Love Anthology. All this coming up on the Feminist Buzzkills podcast, with more hot takes than a flamin' way move. That's right, I'm Liz Winstead, and my co-host Moji is out for a fab vacation. She left this morning, but not before we did some incredible interviews with these guests. We got the news roundup also, so it's me driving the ship alone and Moji joining me along the way. But before I dive into the big stories, I don't have a lot to say except for I felt totally despondent at the death of Sly Stone this week. Those of you who follow me know that I named my dog Mr. Funk because I love funk music, and my dog is from Dayton, Ohio, the capital of funk music. And every time my dog, Mr. Funk, walks, his beat is on the 1 and the 3s. And so I can put any funk song with Mr. Funk walking, and it brings me joy. And if you look at my Instagram, I took one of Sly Stone's songs, and I have Mr. Funk walking to it, and it will bring you joy. And also there's a lyric in the song where he says, "I'm gonna go." And at that point in the song, Mr. Funk lifts his leg in peace. It was like the tribute to Sly Stone that nobody knew they needed, but that Mr. Funk gave everybody. So I just felt sad. And then Brian Wilson, which I am a big Beach Boys fan. Pet Sounds is in my top 20 albums of all time. It was a bad week for men who often behave badly, but were brilliant geniuses. I feel sad. So Brian Wilson, rest in Pet Sounds. Sly Stone, Mr. Funk and I are going to be honoring you in the 1s and 3s all weekend long. So let's move on and let's get to that steaming dump of this week's abortion news.
The Louisiana Senate is celebrating a misogyny Mardi Gras, having just passed a bill that would place a $100,000 bounty on persons in or out of the state who facilitate, administer, prescribe, dispense, distribute, brush up against, make eye contact with,
park next to, throw beads at, or buy beignet from someone who coordinated the sale of an abortion-inducing drug for a person in the state.
Ew. The bill also potentially grants the state attorney general access to pregnant people's medical records and will open investigations into Louisiana bakeries suspected of using actual babies in their king cakes.
Next level, Louisiana. And then over in West Virginia, women who experience any kind of pregnancy loss could face criminal charges. To protect themselves, one prosecuting attorney advises that women should, quote, call your doctor, call law enforcement, or 911, and just say, I miscarried and I want you to know.
He then went on to say, contact your lawyer, your fetus's lawyer, and the government agency that holds the title to your uterus.
I don't know which one that is these days. It's very confusing.
All of them, Liz.
And finally, in irritating news, in a recent Reddit thread, male Ozempic users claimed that the weight loss drugs helped their penises grow. Although there hasn't been enough research studied on the correlation between the active ingredient in these kind of drugs and increased penis size, some experts think Ozempic might actually have something to do with it.
Researchers are also looking into factors of penis growth in MAGA men, like touching it while shaming women on the internet or buying a gun.
Definitely the gun. Definitely the gun. I'm telling you, men will come up with any reason to tell people their penis is bigger than it is. I can't take it anymore. Also, the thing we didn't tell you about Ozempic is that there was another study that I just didn't have time to include in the news dump, that Ozempic, it appears, also negates birth control. So look out if you're on Ozempic. Ozempic babies are popping up everywhere. And if you do get pregnant, please, please, please do not name your baby Ozempic. Ozempic's not cute. Empic isn't cute. Just hard no. Do me that one favor. Okay. We got some stuff to take care of. I promise we're going to get to the big story. I have some rants. I have some thoughts with also some really good information. So it's not just like ranty McGee Winstead, but it kind of is. But we do have some kind of cool stuff going on. So we started telling you last week, we're going to keep plugging it away, but it's really important. We are doing a brand new Operation Save Abortion event that's going to be live streamed from Netroots Nation on Saturday, August 9th. 12:30 to 2 p.m. Eastern, and it's going to be in New Orleans. Right off the bat, if you're like, oh my God, when, where, what, you can go to aafront.org/opsave-netroots. We'll put that in the show notes, obviously, but that's where you can sign up. You can learn all about it. If you're like, what the fuck is Operation Save Abortion? It is this incredible training series that we've developed at Abortion Access Front, and it's going to be so awesome. We're going to be doing an interactive activist workshop and conversation hosted by Moji and I and our programs team at AAF. We're going to be talking about and teaching all of y'all how to execute 3 different action items that we do at Abortion Access Front. One that supports abortion patients and providers, one that helps expose fake clinics, and one that you can learn how to directly take to the politicians your anger, being funny, using humor, and using facts to remind them that they are not doctors. It is awesome. So we'll be live streaming it in this really cool theater. You'll be able to ask questions in real time. So if you're watching and you're following along and you're in the training and you're like, wait a minute, stop, I need some questions, we'll ask them in real time so that you'll be able to walk away with new ways to get involved and with a detailed toolkit to help you execute them all after the fact. We'll also be available to you for any questions afterwards. All you need to do is email your questions to programs@aafront.org, and we can get on a Zoom session with you if you need any help and just fill in any of the blanks or holes that you needed after the session. So gather your friends, watch the stream at home because we always like to create programs that are the most rewarding to do with your activist besties. Or better yet, come and join us at Netroots Nation, again, August 7th through the 9th in New Orleans. If you don't know about Netroots, it is like the Comic-Con of progressive politics. I have personally been going for 19 years. This is the 20th year. I only missed the first one. AEF has been going for 9 years, and it is this amazing 3-day, I don't even know what you call it. It's not a conference because that sounds stale. It's like progressive politicians, activists, and nonprofits to doing workshops and trainings and discussions, all that keep you up to date on what's happening, ways that you can get engaged, and ways that you can really, really plug in to be the change you want to see in the world. So join the Buzzkills for our live workshop. Why not? Come to New Orleans. Spend a weekend with like-minded folks giving us all kinds of information and tools to fight back. So if you're like, oh my God, I want to go to Netroots. Okay, netrootsnation.org. You have all the specifics on how to buy a ticket, where you can stay, the full agenda of speakers, all that jazz. And there's a Buzzkills discount. That's right. If you go to sign up, just enter the promo code Buzzkills to get 10% off of the price of your ticket. They also have discounted hotels. Go to netrootsnation.org and register so we know you're coming. Then you can come visit our booth. We can hang out. You can get selfies with Moji and I and the team. Come on, it's going to be fun. And lastly, sidebarring, Twin Cities listeners, if you are going to the No Kings rally in the Twin Cities, I'll be there. So track me down and say hi, everybody. Now, without further ado, let's get to the stories that I want to break down further. So if you listened to the pod last week, Moji and I went off on a rant on this $20 million study about why white guys hate the Democratic Party and what we need to do to get them back. This week, this Gallup poll came out on abortion, and the findings show that while abortion remains soundly supported by most American women, there is shockingly a widening gender gap, and I have thoughts. So the poll is like 3 questions. One was, do you identify as pro-choice? 61% of the women said they identify as pro-choice, and 41% of men. Now compare that to just 3 years ago in 2022, where there was a 13-point gap. So hello, there is a massive, massive decline among men identifying as pro-choice. Now, you could say, well, maybe people identify themselves as pro-abortion now or whatever. Bottom line is, men are dropping off in the supporting of our bodily autonomy. That should freak you out. 2, when asked if abortion was morally acceptable, there's now a record high 17-point gap between women 47% and men 40%. What the fuck? So then the third question, do you support abortion being legal in all or most circumstances? Another record high. We're just breaking all the records here, people, in all of the wrong ways. 15-point gap. Women, 56% believe abortion should be legal in all or most circumstances. Men, 41%. So this is just since Dobbs, y'all. So before Dobbs, when we weren't hearing all the stories of what happens when you don't have access, men supported abortion more. And now that we've seen what happens to people when they don't have access, men are like, now I don't like abortion. It's a mess. So I read this study, and then I remember last year, and we covered this on the podcast, there was a study that came out that young men between the ages of literally 15 and 27 are becoming more and more religious, and not just religious, like they're not running to the Unitarian Universalist churches. They're running to evangelical churches, right? So they're running to evangelical churches. And then you take the third study, the one I was bitching about last week, that $20 million study that the Democrats did. And when you look at these three things as a whole, then you get a bigger picture. First of all, the $20 million boondoggle study the Democrats did, the sort of big tag headline was that men are feeling forgotten and left behind and erased and demonized. Okay, so men are declining wildly in their support for abortion. Men are running to conservative churches in record numbers. And men are mad at Democrats because they feel left behind and erased. All right, let's look at the three commonalities of these studies, right? 1, men don't support things they can't control and gravitate to social and political constructs that prioritize patriarchy, religion, the GOP, the Joe Rogan manosphere, that all tracks, right? 2nd, men want unearned power, full stop. And they gravitate to viewpoints and systems that define when you open up life's playing field to just more people to have opportunities, they define it as preferential treatment to justify their failure to keep up, right? So they're going to always gravitate to places where their unearned privilege is honored and recognized. And so when you look at this Democratic study that they spend all this money on, in the context of men are not supporting abortion record numbers and men moving to the church, that's the story. This Democratic study, they were trying to say that men didn't like the Democrats because they didn't talk to them about crypto, or Democrats have destroyed the real concept of manhood and now they don't know who they are. Look, here's the thing. None of that's true. And if you're going to invite a person into a study and ask them why the Democratic Party has let them down, they're probably going to lie. Those other two studies, when they're asked those questions, it really shines a light. It's kind of like, tell me you're a misogynist and a racist without telling me you're a misogynist or a racist, right? So they just want control at all costs. And this is the part that I think is important. In order to justify the abject racism and sexism that they actually feel, they always have to find a morality framing. So religion, it's God telling me to be a patriarch. I'm just following the rules. Or if they don't go the religious route and it's the aggrieved, manosphere GOP route, the way they have to justify their bigotry and their sexism is to demonize those of us who aren't part of the cis white manosphere as incompetents or degenerates. And we're just demanding special treatment, right? So that way they can find a moral framing and then they don't identify as sexist or racist. And it really is something that we need to really connect with, because I've said it before and I'm going to say it again. We have to come to terms that a huge swath of American men are just fucking racist. And that's just true. And that's where we're at. And so, again, I believe to my core, stop blaming the internet or Joe Rogan or the church for radicalizing these men. These people had a foundation of grievance and they were searching for places to just reemphasize their belief system. Because men who are curious and multifaceted and confident will break from these cycles and do not believe this shit, because once they've had a taste of understanding that there's so much more to the world and the world wants to know who they are, they get how rich diversity can mean in their lives. And I'm going to wrap it up because I just have been filibustering, but I am a woman of a certain age. You know, I'm in my early 60s. And I just want to remind everybody that when this binary structure was in full effect when I was a kid, so many dads were alcoholics. Dads would come home from work. They had no interaction with their kids, fall asleep on the couch, drink, get up, have to do it again. And the pressure of having everything on their backs because the roles were so stringent didn't provide emancipation for those men. It was a prison. And conversely, forcing women to stay home, telling them their only role was to have children, if that wasn't how they were going to thrive, created resentful moms, alcoholic moms, moms that couldn't even do anything that wasn't assigned to them. And so that's what these young men who are a generation away from what that really feels like are thriving for. So my point is, patriarchy stops everyone from thriving, creates divides because it's just narrows weird gender norms, and judges you harshly if you can't fit into them. So I highly advise these people who took $20 million from Democrats and put out a bunch of bullshit results to really look at all these other studies about this decline of abortion, people moving to the church. They're just bigots and homophobes and racists and misogynists. And that's where we're at. So, hi, happy Friday. I'd like to move on and say, oh, now I've got some really great stuff to talk about. Maybe it's a wake-up call because we have been obsessing about the loss of reproductive privacy that's been happening. Last week, we did a whole big story about that Texas sheriff who was tracking license plates to find one woman who had an abortion. We see states demanding abortion records, collecting data from period trackers, and now watching the anti-abortion Smeagol's as the courts decide if abortion is health care at all. Yep, that is the latest grift. And it will mean if they get their way, HIPAA will no longer protect abortion patients because abortion's not health care. So as the world is burning, another thing that's burning that you need to know about is that Republican attorneys general from more than a dozen states have 3 cases in federal courts trying to overturn a rule that exempts reproductive health information from law enforcement investigations. Now, if it gets struck down or gets altered by any of these cases, that information could become mandatory to disclose. Now, I've linked an article about these lawsuits, but basically how it could play out is, let's say you live in a banned state and you have to leave to have an abortion. Let's say after your abortion, the place that you had it said, hey, would you like an IUD for birth control? And you go, yes, please, I'll have an IUD. You go home and a few weeks go by and your IUD starts bothering you. So you go to your local doctor to have it checked. You talking to your doctor, you feel safe. You reveal to your doctor you had an abortion. Now, without these reproductive protections in place, mandatory reporting to the state that you had an abortion could happen to your doctor. And now your abortion could be part of public record and possibly criminal. And if your state has a bounty hunting law, you could be tracked down, and anyone who helped you get your abortion could also be prosecuted and fined. So we're going to be tracking this story. Please watch this space. The article that I put in the show notes is really, really helpful to show you what's happening. And I feel like I'm so excited to have this perfect guest coming up to continue this conversation because our data, y'all, is in crisis.
California Congresswoman Sara Jacobs is here to talk about how her bill, the My Body, My Data Act, protects everybody's sexual privacy. Hello, welcome, Congresswoman.
Hello, Congresswoman.
Hello, I'm so happy to be here with you.
We are very excited to have you here. And before we get to the My Body, My Data Act, can you give us an update as to what is going on in California with the illegal military occupation in your state?
Yes, absolutely. So I represent San Diego, which is both close to LA and a border community. And what we're seeing is that President Trump has federalized the National Guard despite the objections of the governor and has sent in Marines despite the fact that even the LAPD has said that they don't want the Marines there and they actually think the Marines are going to inflame tensions and make things worse. And so what we're really seeing is an over-militarized response to what is largely peaceful protests. In my view, it's a way for Trump to intentionally try and escalate the situation so that he has an impetus to declare martial law and take away the civil rights of everyone.
Including you and the people that represent us, right?
That's exactly right.
Wow. Well, I'm sorry that you have to hold this down, but I'm so glad that you are somebody who is in there representing a border state, a community full of incredible immigrants, and that you're fighting every day for us. And it's one of the reasons we're here, because you are fighting in a way that we were begging, hoping, and praying somebody in Congress would.
Well, yes, we are fighting back as much as we can. And obviously, I feel like an incredible responsibility being the representative of a border community to stand up for what we in San Diego know is our, incredible immigrant community. I actually, before I got to Congress, I worked in post-coup transitions and conflict internationally. And so unfortunately, my experience is too relevant for what we're dealing with here in the United States.
Would you call yourself a coup spurt?
Oh,
no.
We might need to workshop that.
I might have to workshop it. I'll throw it back at you when I really land where I need to. So it's not even a little bit tangential, because all of our, it's all intersectional, right? When we talk about reproductive justice, being able to live safely is one of them. And on this podcast and with our organization, Abortion Access Front, we have been really tracking all of the reproductive surveillance that's been happening all over the country. And you clearly have too, because you are the author of the My Body, My Data Act to combat some of this. Can you first just lay out for folks listening, what is this act and what does it do?
Yeah, absolutely. And like you said, it is all related and tied together, right? Because it's about taking our rights away, whether it's the right to bodily autonomy or the right to due process or any of these things. So the My Body, My Data Act basically does a few very simple things. First, it says that any company can only collect and retain the reproductive and sexual health data that they strictly need to provide the service you've asked of them. So to clarify that even more, because I know that was a lot of words, it's basically if you're using a period tracking app like I do, your period tracking app can collect your period data because that's what you're asking them to do, but it can't also collect your location data, for instance. Okay, so that's the first piece. Then it says all of these companies are not allowed to sell or share your data. You, as the consumer, can ask for your data to be deleted at any time. And if you believe a company has misused your data, you have the right to sue.
So does this carry over to, as we've talked about a bunch on this podcast, the fake clinics, the crisis pregnancy centers, who when you go in and you think that maybe you're at a doctor's office and they collect your data, does it encompass all of that as well?
This bill would cover any commercial entity that has anything to do with sexual reproductive health data, right? So HIPAA covers your medical data. So if you're talking to your doctor or your healthcare provider or insurance company, that's covered by HIPAA. But period tracking or fertility tracking apps, website searches, Google searches, location data on your phone, Uber trips to abortion clinic, all of that would be covered under this bill. And, speaking of those terrible anti-abortion groups, we actually have seen that a data broker sold this data, this kind of data, to an anti-abortion rights group who then used the data about people who visited an abortion clinic. They used that data, they sold it to this anti-abortion group, and that anti-abortion group then used that data to push out misinformation about abortion to those people.
Terrifying. Oh my goodness. That is really, really terrifying and frightening, honestly. And, this is really relevant also because we do see sometimes stories, a lot, actually, not enough, of terrifying data breaches being reported. And you can think about it when you think of like Doge and the trolls there that have been given free reign to dig into Social Security, IRS, Medicaid, Medicare records, but very little about these widespread data breaches kind of particularly talk to what's missing in our reproductive data.
Yeah. So right now, there's basically no federal protections for this kind of data. So not a lot, maybe some of these period tracking apps, for instance, their whole business model is that they give you a service for free and then they sell your data on the other side, right? And that's where these data brokers get this information that then anyone can have access to. And so this is like really sensitive personal data, right? You're like reproductive and sexual health data. And I think it deserves the highest level of federal protection, just like your medical data does under HIPAA. And that's why I think it's important that we pass this bill. And for the record, well, first, our laws are very outdated and have not kept up with technology at all. But two, this covers all sexual and reproductive health data. So I like to remind my colleagues that if you're like a 60-year-old man and you've been Googling about whether or not you got syphilis from your mistress, that would be protected from your wife as well.
Oh my God. That is brilliant and is a forever reminder. Also, if you need Viagra or Cialis or anything that your weenus is not working properly, you are covered under this bill.
Is that helping sell any of this to those dudes?
So far, no, but I'm going to keep trying.
You know what? I think if you say it loud enough and long enough, they're going to remember that they are that person.
Yeah. I mean, listen, first I have to explain to them, like, one, people track their periods. Two, there are apps that help you do that. Here's how that works. Here's why we have to protect the data. So like, we're starting from a pretty low baseline here.
You know, I'll never forget, even 20 years ago, or maybe 15 years ago, there was a Supreme Court case about whether or not your work device could be looked at, right? And it went to the Supreme Court. And the justices were asking things like, can you print from your phone? Is it a fax machine and a phone? And you're just like, oh my God, if you are not understanding and staying up on technology, you are not going to be able to legislate for us at all. And it's really scary because the people who are up on technology, and one of the things I wanted to ask you is, we have seen so much statewide data interference, right? I mean, at least 15 states have some form of like abortion related data collection that's happening. And even in the past week, I'm sure you saw the story of these Texas cops using license plate tracking. And they tracked 83,000 license plates over the course of states because the person was going to get an abortion. And just in Louisiana, they passed through a bill in the legislature that would give the attorney general the right to just get up all in your medical records. So my question is, if we can get federal legislation passed that is protecting our data, will that negate those state laws as well? Or is it a double-pronged fight we're in?
No, so that's a very good question because this exact question has actually kind of thwarted some broader congressional efforts to do broader data privacy. But this bill, the My Body, My Data Act, would preempt all state law, meaning it would supersede state law. So this would be the law of the land. And, honestly, a bunch of the companies have actually asked for this because right now they're stuck having to decide like which subpoenas they respond to, whether they're, more focused on state law or federal law, right? Like this would make it so much easier and cleaner for the companies. And it would protect people even if they travel to other states to get abortions, right? Like, I'm very proud to be from California. We have very strong data privacy laws in California, but it only protects Californians, right? So like, that's why it's so important we have a national federal standard.
I mean, we know this about the fall of abortion. Once upon a time, every state had the right, and now it's a patchwork of cases. And a lot of these problems even stem from the fact that there is no consistency. And those of us, that is us, and I'm sure you as well, who spend a lot of time covering reproductive issues, are very aware that these data problems are front and center and really a lot of the fight right now. But the general public doesn't always seem as aware of that. And they do seem outraged when they learned how much of their data is free for the taking. Are you having the same reactions of surprise from your constituents?
Totally. I mean, when I tell people how much of their data can be bought just simply from a data broker, their mind is boggled. But I will say, while like the general public doesn't quite understand, young people do. And actually, part of the reason I introduced this bill was because right after the Dobbs decision came down, when Roe v. Wade was overturned, I got so many messages from like my friends and peers about their period tracking apps. I use a period tracking app myself. And so like I also was asking these questions. And what we've seen is that actually 2 years ago, there was a poll and 2/3 of Americans, including 54% of Republicans, think that Congress should ban companies' ability to sell or share reproductive data. So I do think when people hear about it, they are outraged. But unfortunately, right now, like that's literally what so much of the economy is based on, is just kind of this like selling of our personal data that we like maybe click a agree to, but none of us. I'm a pretty informed user and I don't even take the time to read all of the terms of service, right?
It's like 80 pages long.
No, it's true. It also just kind of goes back to what you said too. It's kind of like how many people who are serving us are of reproductive age and are using these things. So it's like out of touch means out of touch. And also just how many of that 54%, if they were really informed, that number would be higher, I think, is how many of those people, like you said before, don't want people knowing that they are searching for, how do I get my mistress secret syphilis treatments? How do I get myself secret syphilis treatments? Whatever it is that they don't want people to know, they would want some privacy on.
I do think people are starting to be more aware about this data issue, right? Like we've seen with what Doge is trying to do with our personal data, right? Like I think it is starting to come more into consciousness, but you're not wrong. Part of this is that this is the third oldest Congress in history. We all remember those Facebook hearings when people asked Facebook how they make money. Like they make money by selling our data. That's how they make money. And I'm 36. So in the real world, that's like, not that young, as my younger siblings like to remind me. In Congress, I'm like a fetus. I should have all the fetus rights that the Republicans want to give.
You should.
And it's why I have to spend so much of my time just explaining how these things work to my colleagues.
Wait a minute. Now I'm really thinking, because you know who should care the most about this? Mike Johnson and his weird porn app that he uses with his son.
Covenant eyes.
Covenant eyes.
That would be protected under my bill. That is sexual health data.
Look, Mike Johnson, your covenant eyes shouldn't be watching you.
We could probably buy that data from a data broker if I had to guess. I mean, maybe this is a little like side project for you guys. See if you can find it.
I mean, I don't think that this is wrong. And so I know you introduced this bill in 2023 and you've reintroduced it now. Is there a snowball's chance in hell at this point with Speaker Covenant Eyes at the helm
and the other olds in Congress
and the other olds in Congress in any way, shape, or form wanting to protect data?
So what's interesting is when it comes to broader data privacy, we have a pretty broad bipartisan coalition. I work with Republicans on like how we protect data from being used by the NSA, for instance, to spy on American citizens. But when it comes to specifically this data, they are nowhere to be found. And I think it's, they're really afraid to do anything that seems like they are supporting abortion. But part of why we're introducing it again now, even though we're in the triple minority and we probably are not going to be able to get it passed this year, is like, one, I think it is an important part of responding to this authoritarian takeover, right? We saw in Project 2025, they want to create a database of pregnancies. We're seeing what Doge is doing with our data. But two, we also need to be ready for when we take back the majority, and we need to have these things ready to go and not just be starting fresh when we get into power. And that's why I'm reintroducing this bill. And that's what I'm doing on a bunch of other issues, because like they were ready when they took over. And that's something we need to learn from.
They spent 50 years building their movement, making sure everything was in place. And the minute that the Dobbs decision was handed down, many states already had these rules on the books that basically undid the protections of Roe in hours or days.
Yeah, those trigger laws. I mean, 13 states had it all set up. When Roe fell, that was done. Project 2025 handed them the playbook and boom, 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 we all watch it. So tell me, what can people do while we're waiting, right, for this to happen? How can people protect their data right now? What are things they can do?
So first of all, look at where the period tracking or other companies you're using are based, because sometimes, like for instance, the period tracking app I use is based in Europe. And so it has to abide by the European data privacy laws, which are much stronger. And so you can do things like that, right? Where like figuring out where the company is based, what laws the company has to abide by. Some companies based in California, for instance, have to abide by the California laws that are much stricter, right? But to be honest, if you live in a state that's really criminalizing abortion and going after people, I would advise you to be very careful about what you put on the internet and what data you give. Read the terms of service. Some of these companies are doing the right thing and saying they're not going to share or sell your data. Some of these companies have a way for you to delete your data. But this is so much work for each individual of us to do this. It shouldn't be on each individual to have to figure out this maze, and it shouldn't be on each company to just do the right thing. This is exactly the kind of thing we need laws for.
Totally.
We have a Congress, we have a governing legislative body, particularly so that individuals can live their life and go to work and not have to go through this maze. Congresswoman, can you tell us, how can people support this bill? And even if it doesn't have the snowball's chance in hell right now, what can we be doing to get it signed into law or at least show support for it?
So I love that question. So first of all, we just reintroduced it. So probably your member of Congress has not yet signed on to be a co-sponsor. So reach out to them, see if they have, ask them to. Also, help me do the education. Talk to them about your use of a period tracking app or website searches, why it matters to you. The more I think they hear from people in their communities, the more I hope they will understand that this is an actual issue. Side note, when I talked about this bill, I became the first person in House history to talk about my own period on the House floor.
I'm sorry, in 2023, please don't tell me that was the first time someone did it.
Yep. So help me and talk to your members of Congress about why these things are important to you and what they do. And also not just your members of Congress, right? Other people in your life, because I bet you that your parent, your grandparent, the old guy who lives down the street, maybe they're not really tracking it. And like we said, when people hear about it, they're pretty aghast. And we just need more people to understand. And those real personal stories are how we get more people to understand.
Well, especially with all of these state laws happening and happening and happening, and knowing that this bill has been written and is designed to become a federal law where they can't be tracking your license plate and hunting you down when you're trying to get your abortions. I mean, I feel like this is so important. Well, we're going to be on team Congressman Jacobs, on team My Body, My Data, and anything that we can do to help amplify, please let us know, because this is some really great, important work. And I think so often, and I'm sure you hear this too, people are like, why is no one doing anything when it comes to reproductive health rights and justice? And as we watch, RF Crackpot over there doing the least at HHS, knowing that you are being proactive makes me feel a lot better for my dying out uterus. But for the youngs, I'm very excited.
Oh, good. Well, and also this idea came from hearing from people about the issues they were worried about. So if you have other ideas on what you want us to be doing, I'm at sarajacobs.house.gov or rep Sara Jacobs. Literally, this idea came from TikTok. So please send me what else you need us to be doing, because we are trying to do everything, but we need your help.
Well, you're really sorry you just said that. So don't worry. We'll be there. We have the Singing Medication Abortion Regimen. They are a singing group called Miffy and the Misotones that you might want to have come and serenade some of your folks in Congress. So maybe we'll talk a little bit about that to do some medication abortion awareness around things too.
That'd be fun.
Fantastic. Oh my God, Congresswoman Jacobs, you made us so calm, because last week we covered that really in-depthly, the Texas story, and it was so upsetting.
The one about the license plates.
Yeah, about the license plates.
I'm like, Liz, there's always a Texas story. So
I know. God, I just said Texas story. Like what was it about Willie Nelson? No, it was not. And then just to be able to have you on to bring some calm and positivity. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Welcome. And I feel like I'm an emissary of hope right now. So let me leave you with one last hopeful thing.
Oh my God.
Other countries that have experienced democratic backsliding like we are experiencing right now, if they have been able to put together a broad-based pro-democracy movement, democracy, small d, not Democratic Party, but democracy movement, they have a better than even chance of having a better democracy on the other side. And so all hope is not lost. We know what we need to do, and we're going to do it. And we all collectively together are going to end up with a better democracy on the other side.
Congresswoman, that's a bomb.
That is amazing. Yeah. And hopefully you'll come back and just share some more positivity. Whenever we got things going on, we're going to be reaching out to you to say, come talk us off the ledge.
Here to serve in all the ways.
All right. Thank you so much, Congresswoman. Have a great day.
Thank you. You too.
Oh my God. Thank you, Representative Jacobs. Call your elected reps and tell them to co-sponsor the My Body, My Data Act and share information about it on your socials. You can read more about it at sarajacobs.house.gov. She is a great follow on social. Follow her on Insta at Rep Sara Jacobs. As always, the links to everything that we've been blabbing about, everything I've been blabbing about, will be in the show notes. And a reminder, you can find the best, most up-to-the-minute resources on accessing abortion care and funding for your care at our website, aafront.org. Our Charlie chatbot is on the bottom right and will walk anyone, anywhere in the country through their options and resources for abortion. You know, remember, we do this show because this info just isn't out there in the media. And we're trying our damnedest to spread the word. So if we're making you smarter and we're helping you out, please show us some love by liking, subscribing, and giving us a 5-star rating. Every little bit helps us reach more listeners, and every rating helps us move up in the algo, as the kids say. I don't think anyone says that. I think I just did. But now I am going to promise we're going to actually take a dip in Lake Positive. It's going to be great. So with our next guest, that's right, I'm not bringing it, but our next guest is. This amazing human is the best thing to come out of Texas since Beyonce. She's an electric guitar goddess and the new face of R&B with a new album out called The Love Anthology. Please welcome one of our AAF ride or dies, Jackie Venson. Jackie!
Hey, what's up?
Hey, Jackie.
It's so good to see you again.
It is good to see you too. It's been a little while, maybe a year or two.
It was 2021, I'm pretty sure.
A lot has happened.
Too much.
So I guess before we even dive into what's going on, you are living in Texas. I guess you got to ask, how's it going?
Well, last night I was cruising the internet looking for a combo dehumidifier with a big tank, reverse osmosis countertop water purifier, because the world is so insane right now that I think the rain collection thing maybe isn't going to be great. I'm in Texas, so that's where I'm at.
So you
Like,
want to purify the water from the air with your air purifier?
Yes, because I don't see how we're not headed towards at least a temporary collapse.
I love that you're transitioning from amazing blues guitarist to a scientist. Already you're smarter than RFK.
Scientist / disaster prepper. Yeah.
Doomsday prep with a hint of science.
Oh my God. But also, aren't you guys having massive droughts and also you got flooded?
Yes, so it's like the worst kind of drought where it doesn't rain for 9 months, and then when it does, it like kills people and destroys property, and then it doesn't rain again for
9 months.
For 9 months, yeah. So like it's not, in order to get out of a drought, it has to be like a rain season where every season at this time it always rains. We haven't had that in a long time.
So Texas is just continues to do the most.
We keep on like taking in billionaire after billionaire after billionaire. And the only thing that billionaires do is destroy the environment and the communities that they move to. And we just keep on being like, yeah, please come here. But not the people, the leadership, you know, it's bad. It's like poisoning the water.
I was going to say they only destroy the water. They're never bringing water with them. It's always like, oh, this is some good water. Let's do something terrible to it.
Yes, absolutely. And that's what's happening. So yeah, like the dehumidifier is like $60 and the tabletop reverse osmosis water purifier is like $150. And I'll just buy it and not even take it out of the box. I'll just put it in
just
the
in
closet,
case.
And
would.
That's where I'm at.
I'm not a disaster prepper at all, but I would also consider a generator because I feel like if things are that bad, you might need to somehow figure out your own electricity.
Yeah.
Way ahead of you on that. There's this thing called a whole house gas backup generator. They tie it into your house's gas line. And as soon as your house goes out of electricity, that thing kicks back on. And, when the power goes out, that doesn't mean the gas has gone out.
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it kicks on and it takes gas and it powers the whole house the same way that the electrical grid would.
And your gas bill is ridiculous because I feel like when Texas had those terrible storms a few years ago, one of the disasters that no one talked about was that everyone's bills were freaking incredible.
They were for sure, but it's definitely better than being without power for a week or
1,000%.
I'll pay. It's fine.
Yeah, 1,000%.
I'm just saying, I've been observing crazy things, and we all have. I'm not trying to like run my home movie theater off of like, I'm not trying to do that. But I am also not trying to like dehydrate and die in 3 days. You know, like I don't trust the governor. So like
Your governor sucks. There's no one to trust there.
absolutely.
You do this, and then you're also like creative and creating like this incredible album. We'll get to it. But like, how do you keep creating while also disaster prepping?
Imagine you can be a doomsday prepper, but with creative projects. Imagine you can like in 2 years collect 15 years of releases just by going into overdrive. And that's what I did. This album that I just came out with in January, I wrote that 10 years ago. And I started recording it 5 years ago. And I just slowly recorded it because I had 3 additional albums. Like every time I'm done recording an album, I'm already immediately recording the next one. An album cycle is usually at least, 8 months, a year, maybe even 2 years for some people. So if you're recording an album, as soon as you're done with an album, you have like 4 years of releases. And then I started recording my live shows. Like just any show I played in Austin, I would just hire a film crew to come record it, get the multi-track, get that mixed. And I just have like probably 50 hours of concert footage.
You're like fucking Prince.
Yeah,
There's vaults, the Jackie Venson vaults.
absolutely. You can actually access it on my YouTube channel. If you join for $6 a month, you can see the first videos of me performing on the guitar ever. Like I was 21, my hair was up, I was all skinny. You know, when you're like 21 and you're just like skinny,
Yes.
like you haven't filled out yet.
Yeah.
You know?
Yes.
So, Jackie, for people who are new, explain folks like what the Jackie Venson musical vibe actually is. If you were to tell somebody like, this is what I do, this is my music.
Okay, I'll try to keep it short. It's definitely electric guitar driven music. So if you don't like the electric guitar, you're not going to like it. I'm not saying that I'm playing like 10-minute solos every single song. It's not jammy, but it is centered around the electric guitar the same way Beyonce's music's centered around her voice. You know what I mean? If you don't like her voice, you're not going to like her music, right?
Right.
So that's the first thing I would say. The second thing I would say is it's a blend of a bunch of different genres. Like one song can be rock, but the next song can be reggae, but the next song can be pop. I'm just going to say it's guitar-driven pop, rock, and R&B.
Nice.
But you're in Texas, so I don't understand how you're still legally allowed to play guitar in public in Texas.
As
How does
a
Governor
woman.
Abbott let this happen?
Oh, well, correction. I'm in Austin, Texas. And this is the People's Republic of Austin, Texas. I mean, if you've ever heard of it.
I've heard of it.
It's true. But you do have those infiltrators. The Joe Rogans are there and Alex Joneses. You have the weird rogue people who do not fit in with the weirdness of Austin.
Well, I'll tell you the big secret that they don't want you to know. They don't live in Austin. They live in Bee Cave.
What's that?
I've like never even heard of that. There's a BK.
Okay.
Billionaires?
I'll translate it to Minneapolis. They don't live in Minneapolis. They live in Anoka.
Oh,
Do you see what I'm saying?
100%.
I'm in New York. I don't get that, but I feel like, are we saying like Westchester?
No, here's what it is. They don't live in New York. They live in Comac, Long
They
Island.
live in Long
Okay.
Island. They
Got
live in, you know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
they don't live
Yeah.
in the city. Like
Yeah.
their city council is not the same as my city council in Austin. They do not vote here,
Right.
which is actually great. It's great. They don't live here.
They're the bridge and tunnel people of Austin.
Yeah. So besides their stupid corporations that have influence and power, they don't actually affect the community of Austin besides polluting the air and water. And the thing about Austin is that it always fights. It's always been like this. This is the People's Republic of Austin.
Yeah.
So what I'm trying to tell you is that we're going to run them out.
Nice.
I love that for you.
Just read history. Like look at anyone who's ever tried to come here and do anything that doesn't benefit the larger community of Austin.
Yeah.
We're going to run them out. I mean, they already got ran out to here.
I know. And I think they don't understand. And I love that you're just like got fighting words for him. And that makes me excited.
I'm not going to organize a group of people to go run Elon Musk out. He's just going to get run out.
It's just gonna happen.
You don't have to.
Like the wind is going to blow. And that's how Austin's always been. That's why I love it here, because it's this perfect mixture of wanting to be progressive, wanting to build a better future. And like, we're hippies with guns. Like, you see what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
we're not pushovers. Oh my God, we're not pushovers. And not only do we run people out and make it impossible for anybody after them to do the same thing.
I love that. So you're just tackling whatever garbage comes your way. You're like tackling it. Maybe a new form of garbage will come, but they'll just get taken out with the trash like the rest of it.
Get taken out, and it gets faster every time. You know, it used to take 10 years, and it took 8. Now it takes 6. Now it takes 2. It's like it just keeps getting faster and faster. It's awesome.
Moji and I both listened to the record, and then we had a little bit of a like debate because Moji took the love as romantic love, and I listened to the lyrics and I got it as like an anthem to people who are living in the garbage world and need like love in their lives. And I don't know if one of us is right or if it's both.
I actually do think it's both, because what it's literally about is a relationship that I kind of like went through, and it wasn't great, and I had to learn and grow, and I had to like be the one to end it, which can be really hard when you're in a bad situation, but you really want a partner, you know?
Yep.
Some people will let a situation like that drag on for a long time, and since that happens so often, that means that it's just a hard situation to be in. So it is about a relationship where I had to like learn about myself. I had to learn about boundaries. I had to learn about not settling, not being too idealistic. And all of those things cover all the bases of either, you know, self-love and pumping yourself up to like live this life with love around you, or specifically if you're going through a relationship and you need to just be kind of strong for yourself. It's also like that.
Jackie, beyond the lyrics, I loved the album. Just like the vibe, the feel was really nice. And it was interesting earlier in this interview when you were like, oh, you know, if you don't like electric guitar, you're not going to like it. And I get that the electric guitar was like centered, but I almost feel like even if you don't like electric guitar, I think you could get into it, because there's just like, I really hate to overuse the word vibe, but it is just really vibey. I don't know. I loved it.
I actually really appreciate that. And the reason why I put that disclaimer on it is because I'm just tired of people walking in thinking I'm going to be something, and then I'm not what they think, you know, like these days, observing late stage, maybe end stage capitalism that we're in, I just don't want any type of like that branding, weird, get as many fans as you can, blow up overnight. Now your life's ruined. Now you're releasing all of these videos about telling people not to go to your house and stuff. Like,
right? It's so crazy.
You want to be able to live in Austin and live, not like live in Austin and hide.
I'm like, why would anyone want that? And then, you have to like hang out with all of those people.
Because those are the only people who are left.
One, you answered one of our questions, which I was really curious about, which was if you were going to answer romantic love about the record. Moji and I were like, this is amazing, because is it about a bunch of relationships? But also it wasn't a screed. It didn't feel like a I need to get this off my chest record. It felt like I thought about this, and here's all these different aspects of what I went through.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it was like a whole bunch of people, but now that you said it's one person,
it's pretty much one person. Yeah.
Wow, that's wild. But having said what you just said, Jackie Venson lives on the road. Like, you are just like a touring machine, which I love. Do you have an element of your fan base that you really wish was not an element of your fan base? Having said that, you know, like, oh my God, do you have people who you're like, how come you like me? Because I don't like anything about what you stand for?
Okay. The answer to this question informs the answer to a question I get asked all the time. I always get asked, why aren't you more famous? I always get asked that question, right? It's because I have been curating my audience for 14 years. I'm a millennial, and I'm also really good at computers. Like, I built my first website when I was like 10 years old in like 7th grade or sixth grade, maybe. I don't know. Whenever somebody rubs me the wrong way in any way, even in a stupid small way, I block them. I have probably 25,000 people on my block list right now. Wow. I've been blocking people on a hair trigger. I'm talking like, I post a video of me playing this beautiful guitar solo, and then somebody just posts a comment that's just a bunch of laugh emojis. I'm like, okay, this isn't supposed to be funny, so what are you laughing at? You know what? I'm not even going to wonder. Fuck you. And I blocked them.
Whoa. And that'll let a person know that maybe they shouldn't come to your show.
No, like, here's the thing. Like, I disappear. See, I know how the internet is. They saw that video, they commented, and they kept scrolling, because that's the internet. So if I block them, they're never going to know. And they're just never going to see me again. They just fade away into the ether. They just get returned to the source for somebody else to have. You know what? Tyler, the creator, you can have this fan. I don't want him. Chaperone, you can have this.
Chaperone, you can have this fan.
I don't want him. I'm serious. I've been blocking people. Okay, I also, certain celebrities I hear bad things about, I block them too. I don't want them to know I exist.
Yeah.
I've been curating my entire social when it comes to like my personal network and literally my fans for 14 years, ever since I started this.
It's really smart. You know, I sort of did that accidentally just by deciding I was going to come loud out about abortion
Hell yeah.
because it threw out comedy fans who were like, why don't you just talk about, I was like, go away. Because I talk about this.
You did it all at once.
It's really helpful because then it's exciting to talk to people after your shows.
Because you find the people that they only find you this way. And this is why I don't do major labels. This is why like after the CMTAs, when I sat in with Alanis Morissette and Lainey Wilson and Jelly Roll was there and shit, I could have done so much networking. I could have gotten so many phone numbers. Now I see Jelly Roll shaking hands with Trump, and I'm really freaking glad I didn't call Jelly Roll.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like a certain stink of corporate fame. Whew.
One of our questions was about how you keep yourself safe in Trump's America, and especially with the amount of touring you do. That is one way. I feel like you answered that question too. Like, oh,
This is how, like,
if you basically, with a whiff of not interested, make yourself disappear, it's hard for the haters to find you.
yes, and here's the other thing about it. I believe in like energetic exchange. You get back what you put in. I believe in all that. And I do believe that some people, whether they know it or not, have a dark cloud above their head. The people in their life, it's like everything is, they're drinking from a poisoned well. Like the people in their life are not really there for them. And they always seem to fall on bad times. I'm not saying everybody who goes through this is like that, but I just feel like some people, they have a dark cloud over them. And a lot of them are really big celebrities that other people think I should put myself around. Jackie, you're so great. Why aren't you around blah, blah, blah? I'm like, because he was on Epstein's list. Like, what do you mean? What do you mean, why? Because he's holding a Ziploc baggie of baby oil? What do you mean, why? Chris Brown terrifies me.
Yeah, he's terrifying. He is.
I pray to God every day. Like, I don't even want him to know that I exist.
I know. I feel like that is so wise. I've done a couple situations where I've been in the crosshairs of Rogan or of Adam Carolla.
You've been around some crazy people.
And it's kind of like, at first it was scary because like if Joe Rogan comes after you and spends 15 minutes talking about that you're garbage, you get a bunch of death threats. But
Yeah.
by the same token, it's like, please tell your friends.
So that I can block them
Yeah,
one by
and-
one as it happens.
Yep. And then also when I tell other comics about that, if I see them fucking with Joe Rogan, I'm like, okay, you know what? We're done. Like, we're done.
You don't want that cloud, man.
No.
Like-
So right.
Dude, like I saw a bunch of people, and this breaks my heart because I used to be a fan for like a decade and a half. But I see musicians around Austin and they get in pictures with Joe Rogan and Dave Chappelle, and I'm like, I'm good.
Yep.
I'm Homer Simpson. I'm just like
disappearing into the hedges.
disappear into the hedges. Like
Yep.
I see people playing like Tesla corporate parties. I'm like, nope. I'm just gone. I'm just
Yeah.
gone.
I feel like this is scintillating. And I don't know. I feel like I could have you break this down for hours. But before you go, I want to know about Jackie the Robot.
Yes.
Please talk about Jackie the Robot. We're so excited about Jackie the Robot.
Okay, Jackie the Robot is my DJ alter ego. I take music and I remix it. Most of the public music you'll find is Jackie Vincent's music remixed into like insano electronic like compositions. And the reason why most of that is because I can't really upload other people. I'd have to pay licensing fees like crazy. But if you come see Jackie the Robot live, I remix like all of my 90s favorites like Britney Spears and Backstreet Boys and shit. I just play guitar solos over these remixes, and I like to compose the music on my iPad. Like I have these iPad sampler programs that are just so fun to make beats on. And the whole thing is just for fun. Like if Jackie Vincent has been meticulous about her fan, Jackie the Robot is like the secret spam account that Jackie Vincent searches at like 1 a.m. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yes.
it's basically like imagine a TikTok spam account, the secret account, you know, but for a whole project.
Oh, I love that.
It's like, if you know, you know.
Where can we hear it?
Jackie the Robot, you can go to jackietherobot.net.
It's even .net.
Yeah, that's what I was like, Jackie the Robot has its own alter ego. Like it's an entity that waves at Jackie Vincent.
And it's .net. And it gets paid like $100 for shows and only 20 people show up. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. It's like I'm a real dumbass little musician with a stupid dream again.
I love it. Jackie, you're on the road. It's summer. I know summer is your touring time. Tell people where they can find all of your tour dates and show up and have the Jackie Venson experience.
So coming up, I'm going to be going to Northern Ohio and then farther going up to upstate New York. And then I'm going to do Toronto for the first time ever.
Nice.
So, and then in July, I'm going to be in the Pacific Northwest as well as the West Coast. But I honestly, I just got back from the Midwest. I do the Midwest every year now. I do that residency in Chicago next May, and I'll be branching out to all the Midwest towns. And so the best way to do is to just go to my website and track my tour schedule because it will keep you updated for your area.
And your website is?
JackieVenson.com.
Stop. That's too easy. Jackie, it's so great to see you. I can't wait to connect with you again. Thank you for your amazing work. And thanks for this record because Moji and I are both like vibing out. It's a good summer jam.
Thank you so much. I'm so honored that you're liking it.
Again, for tour dates, go to JackieVenson.com. Watch Jackie's live performances on her YouTube channel and check out her alter ego, Jackie the Robot, at JackieTheRobot.net. And of course, follow her on Instagram and TikTok at Jackie Venson. But try not to get blocked. For God's sakes, she's got a trigger finger. And we'll link everything in the show notes. There's so much Jackie, so little time. That's our show, y'all. Moji, I hope you're having the best vacation. And I hope you didn't hear me say that because you're on vacation. Thank you all for listening so much. And thanks again to Congresswoman Jacobs. And be sure to learn more about and start advocating for the My Body, My Data Act. Did we make you laugh, make you smarter today? Again, show us some love by subscribing and giving us a 5-star rating. Plus, stay connected with us on social media at Abortion Front across all platforms. With your help, we can make more people learn about this assault on our bodies. Also, reminder, Operation Save Abortion at Netroots, August 9th. Learn more, aafront.org/opsave-netroots or join us at Netroots at netrootsnation.org. Also, browse our other awesome OpSave trainings at OperationSaveAbortion.com. You can get an abortion activist glow up and learn all about the areas abortion providers and patients need your help with. Also, our super cool activist calendar is there, and it's chock full of local and national opportunities and actions that you can get involved in. That's OperationSaveAbortion.com. And we have a featured action this week. It's called We Built This, Black Wealth, Boycotts, and Economic Power, a virtual webinar from Supermajority, an organization founded by Cecile Richards that focuses on making women the most powerful voting bloc in the country. On June 18th at 8 p.m. Eastern, this session will dive into the legacy and future of Black economic power, highlighting how Black women are shifting economies and shaping liberation. Sign up at the link in our show notes. And if you want to get more involved specifically with Abortion Access Front, we need you. Sign up to volunteer at our website, aafront.org, and let's figure it out together. One way you can support, join our Patreon. You'll get great content and cool FBK merch and experiences. All pledges support this pod and all of our activism at Abortion Access Front. Pledge at patreon.com/Feminist Buzzkills. We'll be off next week, prepping for the following week's special episode about the anniversary of the Dobbs decision, talking about what has happened and where we're going 3 years after the fall of our federal protections to abortion. Joining us are Georgetown law professor, reproductive scholar, and author of Policing the Womb, Dr. Michelle Goodwin, and an abortion provider who has been in the front line of the abortion legal battles pre and post Roe, Amy Hagstrom Miller. FBK is edited by Remy DeTournay and is produced by Jin Moon for Abortion Access Front. And finally, instead of leaving you with some massive shitbag, we're leaving you with some good vibes. The amazing song Fear from Jackie Venson's album, The Love Anthology. Be safe out there, folks. Hopefully we'll see you in the streets.
Tell me that you need me. Say it with your eyes. A wise woman showed me this way he never lied. Caught up in distraction, running from the pain. But am I really living if I am afraid? It won't come easy, but it feels so right. Dreams are flowing through my mind. It won't come easy, and it can
Feminist Buzzkills, the podcast from Abortion Access Front. New episodes drop Friday. When BS is poppin', we pop off. And if you want to support our podcast and all the work of Abortion Access Front, like, subscribe, and join our Patreon at patreon.com/feministbuzzkills.